Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Schwartz-Reichel. My career began in music education where I learned the importance of a key change, a shift, in the tonal center of a piece of music, often used to inject energy or produce significance. Eventually, I realized the impact of making key changes in all areas of my life and the desire to help others do the same. Making key changes can be difficult. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do like to pose questions for reflection and offer actionable key changes for us to attempt in both our working and living situations. Together, we can unlock our greatest potential in collaboration with those we love, serve, and lead. Let's discover how we can grow together by making key changes. Over the last few episodes, we've explored reflection, purpose, and direction, each a key part of making meaningful change in our lives. And as we do with every fifth episode, this is a moment to pause and revisit. Lately, I found myself in more and more conversations with people at a crossroads. A recent graduate, unsure of what's next. An educator, rethinking their path. Or someone who spent years in the same role, wondering if it's time for something different. This time of year seems to bring that question to the surface. Is it time for a change? I've spoken about career transitions in recent episodes, such as number 94 and number 93, and earlier in number 16, 19, and 37. And what keeps coming up is this. Sometimes we make a choice to change, and sometimes a choice is made for us. So today, as part of our every fifth episode revisit, though in a slightly different format, we're going back to episode number 19 to remember change is a choice. If you find yourself at a crossroads, this revisited episode and the personal story I share may help you decide what you or those you love, serve, or lead truly need. In episode 16, we discussed making key changes in our careers. We followed up on this topic with episode 17 as we considered creating a vision and mission for ourselves. And in episode 18, we expanded on this idea to include others in the creation and maintenance of a shared vision. Making key changes, especially in our careers, can bring an emotional overload of feelings and experiences. Making a change, or even simply considering making a change, can cause anxiety, self-doubt, and uncertainty. We might worry if we are making the right decision. Of course, I used air quotes when I said the word right. We might be nervous about making such a large change and concerned with how this will impact us and those around us. Many questions may flood our minds, like, how will our morning or evening routines change? Will our commute be different? How will our salaries and benefits be impacted? Will we enjoy the new people we work with? Will we thrive in this new role and its responsibilities? Can we grow in this new job or place of employment? Uncertainty is expected, but that doesn't make it any easier to deal with. Wanting to make a change in our careers could also bring rejection, and lots of it. We might apply for a job and never be given an opportunity to interview. We may interview for a job and not be offered the position. Or we could be verbally offered a job and later have the offer rescinded or be ghosted after interest in us has been shown. I have experienced all these scenarios as an educator and as an entrepreneur. It is frustrating, and as I am learning from others, it happens way too often. Feelings of regret may emerge. Should we decide to apply for a job, we might regret not including something of value in the application, the resume, or our cover letter. Or we may wish we had eliminated something from those documents. At the interview, we may regret how we prepared for it or how we answered a question. We may wish we had said more through our answers. We may regret that we didn't ask any questions. I always tell people, and remind myself, that if we have the smallest interest in a job, we should apply for it. We can't be considered for a job if we don't show interest in it. If we make it through the application process and proceed to the interview stage, then it becomes a two-way street of interest. The interview is an opportunity for the hiring committee to decide if we are a fit for the company, but it is also an opportunity for us to decide if the people, job, or company are a fit for us. Along the way, we may learn several things about these people, the company, the job, and ourselves that may sway us towards or away from the job or company. We may be excited to continue through the hiring process, or we may decide that the job is not for us. Change is a choice. Enjoy a little story time with Lori. When my youngest child was about to begin full-time kindergarten, I applied for a 12-month central office position for a school district. From the job description, I was interested in the work. I was unsure if I wanted to commit to a full-time job to this extent, and I was emotional about my youngest child starting kindergarten in the fall. But I wanted the opportunity to see if this was a good fit for me and my family. So I applied and was offered an interview. From the onset of the application process, I had an unpleasant feeling. I was sent an email by the company at 10:09 a.m. on a Friday in May and asked to respond by 2 p.m. that same day to accept an interview. On this day, I had been adjudicating music ensembles in a theater out of state and had only discovered that an email and an immediate follow-up voice message were sent to me as I took a bathroom break. With 20 minutes left to spare on this company's deadline, I called and accepted the interview, and it happened to be the only time slot offered to me. I was then told that another email would be sent to me, and I would have until 4 p.m. that same day to respond again and accept the interview tasks. I reiterated that I was working in a location with poor cell service. This was of no concern to the messenger, as I was told that if I did not respond by 4 p.m., then I would lose the chance to interview. When my adjudicating schedule allowed, I found a place where I had internet and cell service again, opened the email, and responded by phone to accept the interview tasks. From there, I had from Friday, that same day, at 4 p.m. until the next Monday evening to prepare, design, and submit a professional development proposal. I then had to create, practice, and tweak a presentation that I would present to the interview committee a day later. I was shocked. I hadn't even interviewed yet, and I had a bad taste in my mouth. I was forced to work through a weekend for a job I didn't even have yet, or possibly ever. And I was also expected to provide them with work of mine without being paid for it. I will never forget my husband's response to this scenario. If they treat you like this as a candidate, imagine how they will treat you if you are an employee. These words lingered in my mind throughout the entire application process. For the interview, I spent the entire weekend preparing for the 20-minute presentation that was required during the first part of the interview. With each passing hour, I grew more upset, and so did my husband, as I was not present with the family that entire weekend. The interview day came. I arrived early, but the committee was 55 minutes late beyond our scheduled time. I sat in a room by myself for more than an hour waiting for the interview panel to arrive. My nerves and frustration grew deeper by the minute. When the committee finally entered the space, I did my best to dazzle during the presentation portion. Then, I was left alone again to review questions before the next section of the interview occurred. By this time, we were almost 2 hours beyond when I had arrived. It was late in the afternoon. I was tired and hungry, and I could visibly tell that the interview committee was also exhausted. Halfway through the question portion, I was asked why I wanted the job. By that point, I didn't even know if I wanted the job anymore. I paused to think, why do I want this job? Professionally, I explained my reasons for being a great fit for it and what I could offer. And then something in me decided to say that I was prepared to offer my services full-time to a school district since my youngest child was heading off to kindergarten. As I said the word kindergarten, I could feel my eyes begin to water. I was disappointed in myself that my emotions took over and the committee saw me cry. But I was mad and sad. I worked my butt off all weekend preparing the document ahead of time and tweaking my presentation. I had missed time with my family, and before the interview, I had come from my son's preschool graduation practice. In the silent hour that I sat alone waiting for the interview committee, the vision of my son flooded my mind. At that moment, it was obvious that this was not the place or time for me to work in this setting. My emotions revealed this. I did not feel valued during the interview application process, from the Friday urgent emails and phone calls to the work required through the weekend. And the lateness of the interview committee added to my frustration. I arrived home that day frustrated and emotional. As expected, I sent my thank you emails. Of the 7 people I interacted with on that interview day, only one person responded with a kind message. The person with the highest authority responded to my email with a thumbs up emoji. I was shocked. After all the effort I put in and I got a freaking thumbs up as a reply, this action spoke volumes to me. Before a choice was made for me, I made a choice about the job. I decided that if I was offered the job, I would decline. Surprise, I was not offered the job. Change is a choice. It is our choice to decide if we want to make a change. It is our choice to decide if the change we want to make aligns with our values and intentions. And if we make a change and we don't like the change we made, we can change again. I remember the advice I received from my dad and from my cousin Megan, who also received the same advice from her dad. That a change in our careers is not jail. If we don't like a job, we can leave at any time. We can decide not to proceed with an application process. We can leave during an interview. We can decline a job if it is offered to us. We can leave if we accept a job and we don't feel it is the best place for us. We can change again in 1 year, in 10 years, or 30 years. Change is a choice. With this change, though, may come anxiety, uncertainty, and rejection. We may be confused and second-guess ourselves. We may sweat. We might feel sick to our stomachs and not want to eat, or we might even throw up. We may overeat, drink too much, or numb ourselves in other ways. Our voices may shake or crack when we talk. We may cry. These are normal feelings to have, but they shouldn't stop us from exploring a possible change. However, if these feelings continue well beyond when the change has been made, they may be an indication that the change does not align with our vision. Sometimes we make a choice to change, and sometimes choices are made for us. When presented with the choice of making a change in your career, consider how you respond throughout the entire process. How do you feel? How does your family feel? How are you acting? How are you responding to questions? What emotions are you feeling and displaying? These answers can be very telling about our choice to change. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it, especially someone navigating change on their own. Check out the show notes for upcoming events, and don't forget to subscribe to the Making Key Changes weekly newsletter. This community continues to grow with people who are committed to leading themselves and others with intention. And if you're planning a conference, professional development session, or workshop, and want to build a culture of reflective, confident leadership, I'd love to partner with you. How are we making key changes to recognize that change is a choice? Thanks for listening. If you haven't done so yet, please consider rating and reviewing the Making Key Changes podcast on the Apple Podcast app. If you found this episode helpful, please consider sharing it with others and joining me again next week. In my coming episodes, I'll discuss topics that are most passionate to me, along with things I've been researching or areas of my life I have changed or want to change. You can learn more about me on my website, makingkeychanges.com. Feel free to message me through there or reach out on social media. I'd love to hear from you and learn about what key changes you hope to make.